pagan faith you're leaning into in these end times where the material world is clearly cracking and a-crumbling, but you're going to need some divine light to get you through this. I know I do, and that's why later today we're going to be speaking to Dave Martin. Surely you saw Dave Martin address the EU where he hit with the home truths right at the beginning of this pandemic, where he first posed, and we're still on YouTube right now, so I'll be disciplined in the manner in which I convey this information, but he confronted them with some truth around lockdown measures, medical measures, things that you've known about for a long time. You were ahead of the curve. You've known for a long while something wasn't right. You sensed it. Your intuition was correct. You researched it, and now we're a little further along the path. Well, Dave Martin, he's got information that is going to, I would say, well, a lot of it's astonishing. Some of the things he says about the WHO, the way that it was founded, he can back this up with incredible research. It's gonna astonish you, I think. But I'm gonna wait for Dave to convey it. We've got an incredible article about the AstraZeneca vaccine's defective status. Once we're off YouTube, we're going to be a lot more free. Now, I want to talk to you today about the spectacle of contemporary politics. I want to talk to you today about the spectacle of legacy media. Where do you think this fits into the spectacular? You've already surely seen Trump attending UFC with Tucker like it's sort of like a super group, like it's cream. There's Trump, there's Tucker, there's Dana White, there's Kid Rock. It's giddying, but there are more than one type of spectacle. Observe this. Let me know how it makes you feel. Let me know how it makes you feel about democracy. Press 1 if it makes you feel optimistic for the future of America, or 2 if it makes you feel concerned. And then we're going to show you how the other side convey their propaganda. Jen Psaki in particular on MSNBC. Let's have a look at Trump, Tucker et al.
Way into the building. One of the bigger mixed martial arts fans I know, President Donald Trump, taking his octagon side seat for UFC 295. We got 2 title fights coming up at UFC 295 here in a matter of moments, live from Madison Square Garden. And President Trump will be here to witness all of it. 4 of the very best fighters in the world set to take their cracks at light heavyweight and interim heavyweight gold, respectively. We move over to pay-per-view shortly. Thank you all for being here for the prelim coverage. But as you know...
It's extraordinary. There's a lot of intensity unfolding there. How do you feel about that? A lot of you pressing 1, a lot of you pressing 2. It's astonishing, right? But then, and I feel like the detractors of Trump and those that see this new emergent form of populism that's taking form in a pejorative way will say, well, look at this, it's sort of outrageous, it's bread and circuses. But when you look at the which member of the Justice League would you be? I don't know. I mean, I find Batman alluring, always have. I feel like look at the way that propaganda works within the metropolitan establishment elite. This is Jen Psaki. You know Jen Psaki. She was formerly a White House press secretary and spokesperson, but then she made a massive career distraction and change. You okay there? You okay, Ashella, in the chat? You all right, you lot? I'm watching you. We're so sick of Biden destroying our country, says Big Mama Time, USA Now. I'm watching you guys. Now, have a look at the way that they convey propaganda, the things that they say and the questions that they don't ask. This is fascinating.
And yet, the hand-wringing and cocktail party speculation about an alternative to Joe Biden is continuing, will continue. Guess what? Joe Biden isn't perfect. No candidate.
Not perfect. That's the concession. After the mad anecdotes, the fist bumps with Saudi Arabian leaders that were going to be condemned as pariahs, the building, the wall that was condemned, the mitigated and mealy-mouthed big pharma deal. Not perfect.
It is, by the way. But we have to understand what the alternative is here. If elected to a second term, Donald Trump would prosecute anyone he deems an enemy, unleash troops.
There's some sort of prosecution of Trump going on right now. Of course, Trump's perspective of what's happening with his ongoing, not indictments, but his ongoing, indictments is that is a politically motivated. A lot of you feel that that's politically motivated. So I suppose that what Jen Psaki is advocating for is not easy because it doesn't seem like we live in a particularly valid and transparent and open state. There is so much corruption. There is so much despair. And when I don't see people honour it or even own it or be open about it, I think, oh no, how can we trust these people? How can we trust them at all? Look at the 2 types of spectacle. 1, loud and extraordinary and vivid. The other kind of intellectual, somewhat, what do I want to say, kind of offered to you in bespoke media terms.
On protesters and essentially unravel the rule of law as we know it. And this time, he plans to line his administration with people who will actually help him do it.
Why wouldn't he have done that in the first place?
But sure, Joe Biden is 3 years older and occasionally trips over things. Look, there's a lot to be concerned about right now when it comes to a second Trump term. The speeches are getting much more disturbing and much more unhinged, and we should all hear it that way.
Right. Okay. Now, this is where it starts to advance and the kind of Putin comparisons begin to increase, where Trump in particular is conveyed as a dictator and as a tyrant. But you have to look at the last couple of years and the extraordinary misleading and contradictory policies that have played out.
When he said this week, if they're beating me, go down and indict them, and some of the pronouncements he's made over the weekend, I've heard that as kind of his authoritarian impulses getting worse. How do you hear them?
Well, the role of the government, in his view, is to advance his political fortunes and destroy his political enemies. So what...
That's odd. That's a very sweeping and powerful statement.
Would a second term look like? It would look a lot like Vladimir Putin in Russia. It would look a lot like Viktor Orban in Hungary. Illiberal democracy, meaning democracy without rights or liberties or respect for the due process system, the rule of law. And in fact, there's not much democracy left to it because their position is that they don't accept the integrity of any election where they lose. And that is...
But that's also seems to be true of both sides.
It's a hallmark of an authoritarian party. They don't accept elections that don't go their ways. They refuse to disavow political violence. They embrace political violence as an instrument for obtaining power. And then everything flows from the will of a charismatic politician, and that is Donald Trump in their book. So we're clearly headed into a completely different form of government than any of us would recognize as continuous with the past. Right-wing authoritarian government in league with Putin, Xi, Orban, Bolsonaro,
Putin
you
and
name
Xi.
it.
This spectacle is presented to you as verifiable truth, as academic, as considered. But what you're witnessing, I would offer you, is every bit as hyperbolic and bombastic as seeing Donald Trump and Tucker rolling out of the UFC. That might engender feelings of excitement and power. This might engender feelings of condescension. But in either case, there's a kind of reductivism that prevents you, I think, from looking at the full facts. But this is where this gets extraordinary. Have a look.
Bolsonaro,
Putin
you name
and
it.
Xi and Orban, and those are some serious authoritarian dictators out there, but they're people, it sounds like you're saying people should look at if they're wondering what a second Trump term would look like.
Those are the people that Donald Trump and his family do business with. Remember, his son-in-law brought back $2 billion from Saudi Arabia.
If this was an investigative interview, if Jen Psaki now was asking this congressman legit question, she would say, yeah, but what about the Biden family and Hunter Biden? The fact that that question is not asked shows you that even though this might seem less like propaganda on the surface, it's complete propaganda. The information that's presented to you, the information that's excluded. Extraordinary. You guys on Locals, is the stream sorted out now? You're still struggling, and we're watching you. I see that you're having a little trouble with that stream.
Mohammed bin Salman, he pocketed that after 4 years of rendering favors to Saudi Arabia, including covering up the assassination, dismemberment, drawing and quartering of a Saudi American journalist for...
Of course, like Biden subsequently went on to do massive deals with Saudi Arabia. So there's a complete lack of consistency. There are no reliable principles. I suppose much of my despair about our current political system is derived from the observation that there seems to be a lack of consistent principles everywhere. If you believe in free speech, it's got to be the free speech of the people you oppose. Have you noticed that, well, in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of censorship around COVID, a lot of censorship around Ukraine. I would say that's broadly coming from the left. Now we're beginning to see calls for censorship when it comes to the Middle Eastern conflict. If you believe in free speech, isn't that an absolute principle? Tell me, is free speech an absolute principle? One, or there's some instances where you shouldn't have free speech. Say 2 for that. 1, if you believe in absolute free speech. 2, if you think there are some situations where free speech should be banned. Now, look, on Locals there, in our Awakened Wonder community that you can become a member of, and you can see early conversations like our chat with Alex Jones, which is, I'm still putting my head back together after that conversation. That's up already in our Locals community. You can join us live for a lot of conversations there. And ones all over Rumble as well. We seem to believe in free speech 100% and absolutely. And I guess that's how principles work. Little shout out for Bad Graphics Jack. Oh, God, I'm going to miss that guy. Let's see the end of this clip, though.
The Washington Post and rendering all kinds of favors to Saudi Arabia. Well, multiply that times every authoritarian despot on earth. And that's what we're getting with Donald Trump, because they've made relationships with every autocratic, plutocratic, kleptocratic regime on earth.
Biden sells weapons to 57% of the world's dubbed autocratic nations. It's extraordinary to watch this kind of discourse. Now, I've not watched it, but I can imagine a legacy media outlet seeing Trump appearing at the UFC with Tucker and say, oh my God, look at this sort of bombast. It's like Nuremberg. It's ridiculous. But look at their propaganda. Look at how particular, how abstract, how much denial there is. Yeah, don't put that on the screen over there, darlings. That's a very distracting thing. You're trying to boot up Locals again, are you? Yeah, we're back on Locals. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. This idea, this motif, this modality of presenting a reality that is distracting, untrue, and delegitimate, and I'm so encouraged, by the way, that all of you basically pressed 1, is like you see it throughout legacy media, and you see it throughout political life. President Xi was visiting San Francisco. Did you know that? And they just got rid of the homeless. They cleansed San Francisco of anyone who's been to San Francisco knows there's a pretty serious homelessness problem. Have a look at this before and after shot. Okay, so look, that's like an area where there's like a homeless encampment, and maybe we need to have a little conversation about that. That's sort of about American infrastructure and American resources and American expenditure on foreign wars, when it seems that domestically there are some pretty serious problems. I wonder how many of the people in those tents are former veterans. I wonder how many of the people in those tents have mental health issues and addiction issues that can't be addressed because of a lack of infrastructure that's being filtered through the military-industrial complex, which requires forever wars to legitimize them. No, let me know how you feel about that. Would you rather see American infrastructure improved, or would you rather see the perpetuation of these forever wars? 1, for spend it in America. 2, for spend it abroad. Let's have while you're doing that, while you're letting me know, let's have a look at how the legacy media report on this homelessness issue and the extraordinary phenomena of cleansing homeless folk from the streets just for a state visit, rather than, doing it more deliberately and permanently.
While San Francisco is in the spotlight for the Asia-Pacific Economic Conference, city leaders are making sure the city shines.
Tourism is our business here in San Francisco, and we need to focus on making sure that
I'm doing my part. I got this feather in my hat. That's going to draw in a few tourists, and maybe 1 or 2 homeless guys could shelter under the brim.
Tourist dollars still come back.
Caltrans repaving major roadways like the Harrison Street off-ramp from the I-80. BART doubling down by deep cleaning their stations overnight more often.
The city had gotten a little bit dingy.
Even the idea that tourism actually is how a city or a location generates its revenue is yielding to the idea that spectacle precedes reality. It's a place that you visit. It's not a place that you live in. I understand the necessary economics of the tourist industry. I know that. But doesn't it sort of tell you that primarily a place is to be observed and no one cares in reality? All of you, and I've got to assume that there are people from the left and the right and across the political spectrum, all of you would rather see money, your tax dollars spent in the United States rather than, perpetuating forever wars. And I guess there should be some sort of referendum on that.
Over time,
scrubbing and power washing is happening all over the city.
Yeah, the bottom of my shoes look clean.
It's noticeable how clear the streets look and how few homeless encampments there are on major thoroughfares.
Having been a longtime resident in the Bay Area, you just naturally start to wonder if houseless folks being displaced.
Public Works is installing decorative crosswalks in North Beach and Chinatown, and the Webster Street pedestrian bridge
odd, isn't it? It's sort of decorating the surface of something while deep down it is being eroded and falling apart.
And Japantown was recently repainted. The Yerba
Stoner George in the Rumble chat, where are the homeless now? They're just sort of slightly further out. They've just pushed them right. This is where the visit will be. This is where the presidential motorcade will go for President Xi. Put them over there. Put a homeless person, paint that homeless person so they look like a crosswalk.
Gardens at the Moscone Center are decked out with new colorful landscaping and murals, paid for by the Clean California grant, just in time for the 20,000 high-profile CEOs and heads of state coming.
For a moment, occasionally, do you glimpse a world where it's not about murals? Do you see a world where people that have lost their ability to support themselves are retrained, reintroduced to dignity, able to contribute to community? Are you able to imagine a world where democracy becomes localized, accessible, where your individuality is regarded and respected as divine, therefore diffusing all of the numerous, ongoing, endless cultural arguments about how you want to identify, how you want to be seen, that whether you've got a traditional or progressive identity, it's your business and it's up to you, that you have local democracy? Do you see how the more that we centralize power, the more that we censor and surveil, the more that power coalesces in unelected organizations that straddle the globe like Goliaths? I'm talking about your WHO, new treaty coming, WEF, how's that thing funded, IMF. All of these things are taking your power and in many cases your tax dollars, and certainly they are funneling down to you through their fellows, through their friends, through their affiliates. You know, are you astonished by how many political figures have ties with the WF? Do you know how many it is? It's just like all of them, more or less. Like David Cameron, he used to be Prime Minister in our country. Rishi Sunak, he's Prime Minister now. Your man Justin Trudeau, who I know you guys love and don't question who his father might be. I know you love him. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're only going to be on YouTube for a few more minutes. Then our Dave Martin interview, which is too explosive to broadcast on that platform, will be on, as well as our reporting on the recent AstraZeneca court case, which I think is the first time we're getting real close to admitting that vaccines cause serious, possibly even lethal injuries. Is something we're going to be looking at, not on YouTube for obvious reasons. So if you're watching us on YouTube, get ready to, as Michael Jackson would have said, make that change. We've just brought back one of them WEF stooges that we used to have as Prime Minister for a little while that we didn't like when he was our Prime Minister. You won't be that excited about him, but God, the news, the propagandist, legacy media news in our country, they're double excited to see this guy come tumbling out of a car. I don't know if you have Into the Night Garden in your country, but who is the guy out of Into the Night Garden? Iggle, wiggle, wiggle, pickle. Iggle pickle. Well, just, watch this space.
My car coming up number 10. Down your street, I should say. Not quite sure who this might be. If somebody's sacked, then of course.
I'm going to teach you the word synecdoche now. Do you know that word synecdoche? It means like a sort of a phrase that's used to represent something. Number 10. When they say number 10, we know they mean the location of power. White House, we know they're referring to the location of power. It's an image symbol. Synecdoche, synecdoche, synecdoche.
They don't come up Downing Street. That's done in private. That's the security.
We sack them out the back. We invite them in the front. Every single one of them is bloody bleeding. You can finish that in your own consciousness. Like, did you hear that they just said when we sack them, we kick them out the back? They don't. We sack them. Listen, you're fired. How'd you go? Nice. You finished it for me in the Rumble chat. Of course you did.
Detail just opening the door for
David Cameron.
Excited they are. Ooh.
Wait. I was not expecting that.
So excited, aren't they? It's like the Beatlemania. What? It's Harry Styles. Harry Styles is going to run the country now. This is going to be fantastic. Get them lads from Korea. That band out of Korea. Get them in to do it.
Okay. So there have been stories in the last few days that David Cameron, who had never really found his feet after leaving the job of Prime Minister, did jobs that were controversial.
Yeah, like, guess what kind of jobs he did? Jobs he made think, you wouldn't have got that job if you hadn't been Prime Minister. Did you make decisions as Prime Minister that advanced those interests? The same way, you don't know this about our country maybe, that Rishi Sunak, our Prime Minister, was a member, he started a hedge fund that invested $500 million in Moderna. And then, weirdly, when they were Chancellor, a bunch of money got invested in, what was it called again? Moderna. Almost like, pig effer, says Be Free Liberty. Yeah, you can research that for yourselves. I'm not getting involved in that. But pig effer, yeah, that'll yield some interesting results if you start looking at that. Yeah, Klaus Schwab, he infiltrated so many cabinets, hasn't he? He's been inside more cabinets than Chippendale. And Cameron, here he is. Just in case you wonder where these people come from and where they train, this is where they train.
Well, thank you, Philip, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that welcome. It's very good to be back in Davos. It's good to be back.
Good to be back. It's good to be back. So, yeah, like the WF, they're talking to us now about CBDCs. You've seen that, have you? You're aware that CBDCs are being normalised. Did you see that Dutch politician, what's he called? Rob Roos. Rob Roos going, it's too late. They're going to go for the CBDCs. Like the World Economic Forum, as you know, is one of those organisations that sort of soft sells green washes, like those kind of ideas before we get them hoisted and foisted upon us. You're looking now, right now, aren't you, at those three bifurcated O's, and that's 666. Ooh, that's 666. Let's have a look at this guy. I don't know where he's, somewhere in your country, America. He's in a sort of a Chase Manhattan bank, I think, and like he can't get any money out. I really like it. It's just one of those sort of, oh, he can't pay it in. Check this out. They're going like, yeah, the bank, yeah, Be Free Liberty, the 666 in the logo. I see you in the Rumble chat. Hey, $1 from Crystal WW. Thank you very much. Nice one, guys. We'll give that to, I don't know where we'll spend it. Maybe I'll buy myself some sort of fancy sweater. We'll invest it. We'll invest it wisely. Yeah, you eat bugs. That's what's getting chatted in. What people are chatting about in the locals chat over there. The Awakened Wonders. Let's have a look at this guy unable to pay money into a bank. Did you think it would be in your lifetime that when have we shown the video yet about the normalization of the chips under the skin? You're going to love it. You're going to love that. We're doing that later this week. Tomorrow, I think, we're talking about CBDCs. We're talking about how digital currencies will go global. And we're talking about how they're, in a sense, normalizing under the skin technology. It's extraordinary because those are the kind of things that only Alex Jones would talk about once. And you'll love the chat with Alex because I try to sort of go, Alex, come on, mate, let's try and be calm. You see every bit of Alex that you want to see. You're going to get all of it. If you want to become an Awaken Wonder, become one of our supporters, you can watch it immediately. Otherwise, it's on at the end of this week. Over 2 episodes, and believe me, it's worth it. Let's have a look at this guy wandering into a bank, freaking out, unable to pay a bit of money. He's not taking it well.
Customer service when somebody lives 130 miles away.
Or we can take either a cashier's check, money.
I know. I tell you, when I walk out of this damn bank, I'm going to get on Twitter. I'm going to blast the hell out of J.P. Morgan for not taking cash at a bank. That's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Do you ever feel like that sometimes? Do you feel like the system's sort of falling apart? Like that you can't just be in the world anymore? You can't pay money into a bank, can't do what you want to do. You don't want to hurt anyone. You just want to be free. Do you feel that your freedom is being eroded? Do you feel that your freedom is contingent on just not moving your chains? Is that what passes for freedom these days? Accepting that you're in a cell?
Do I feel that way? That's crazy. It's crazy. Somebody walks in, the customer gets cash, and you won't take it. And you won't make an exception.
I'm going to leave the building, or I will call the police. Or we...
Like it used to be. Call the police. There's someone trying to take money out of the bank. Call the police. Someone is trying to put money in the bank. Like, where are we going now? Who do the police even work for?
Hey, I don't care who the you call. This is ridiculous not to take cash.
It is Chase. It's not me personally. I appreciate it.
He always left, then got angry again and came back.
You're yelling at me like that.
Yeah, but you have the ability to do customer service. Why can you not take a $50 bill?
I can just tell it to you. Okay, lose me like 100 or 2.
I like this guy filming it with like Adam's Family thing at the very front of the set, and he's also just acting like he's trying to act normal, but he's the auteur behind this masterpiece.
200.
So it does have to be checked.
I asked to print it, but I don't know why I didn't.
So if my mom walks up with the $50 bill, you're not going to take the cash from her?
Amazing, great movie, one of my favourites. See, like, I guess we should just. We've got Trump taking shots at Ron DeSantis. Oh, that's a good. There's a brilliant post in the locals chat there of Klaus Schwab with cracked reptilian skin licking flies off his head. USA Now. That's a nice post. I see the kind of boards you live on, baby. All right, listen. We've got loads to tell you about. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're gonna just speak freely now on Rumble. So if you're watching us over on YouTube, click the link in the description. Get over on Rumble and watch my conversation with Dave Martin. If you haven't seen his viral video yet, where he talked about, where he confronted the EU with what he believes is the kind of twisted legacy of the pandemic and the twisted origins. He talks about times that things got patented, like things were patented. He can show the receipts in like back in 2002. You're going to love this stuff. It's an important conversation. You'll love it. Also, we're going to be talking about the AstraZeneca vaccine and some terrifying new revelations. And tomorrow,